All right, looks like we have everybody here. Thank you all very much for joining us today. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are. I hope you find this webinar of value and worthy of your time. It's only an hour, but I know that's a pretty important amount of time for most people. But hopefully you'll find this full of helpful information and good examples to take back to your team and potentially changes you can make within the ways that you work. My name is Brian Dar. I work for a company called Expium, which is an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. Atlassian makes a bunch of products that we're going to look through today. This isn't really a product show. It's more of a what you can do with these products to make your life easier at work kind of show. As a Platinum Solution Partner, I'll talk a little bit about that more in the middle of the webinar, but basically we provide services around Atlassian tools and also business process consulting and also custom development work. I'm a solution architect here. I'm also a SAFe program consultant, a very pretentiously titled Atlassian certified expert, which means I have a bunch of certifications, and also some ITIL certifications as well. All right, so the dumpster fire of work and the world right now. Sometimes work can feel like a dumpster fire. And today I'd like to show you tools and processes that will hopefully make your work life and maybe your personal life easier by making work visible, helping people have clear and visible next steps in the processes you do for work, making work collaborative and not siloed, and making tools, or I guess choosing and using tools that are flexible enough to modify your processes as quickly as your environment changes. I'm sure you've noticed recently that work and processes seems to be changing much more rapidly, especially after 2020. And so I think what you want to be doing is using tools that are flexible enough to adapt to those processes. And all of this is aimed at any team, HR, legal, finance, software, it doesn't matter. The tools and the processes and the tricks we're going to show you today are geared towards any team. All right, so this is the introduction. We're almost done with that. After that, we're going to talk a little bit about Agile, which is the just in general a good idea, and also the philosophical foundation upon which these tools and processes were built. So it kind of helps to know a little bit about the background before we dive into what we're showing off. Then we're going to show a number of examples geared at using different tools to help your team. In the end, we're going to do question and answer. All right, so Agile, I'm sure you've heard the word Agile recently. It's been around, or at least in software development, since about 2020, but it applies to many, many more industries and types of work nowadays than ever. Basically, an Agile mindset is not about doing more work in less time. It is about generating more value with less work. So I like to think of it as outcome is more important than output. If you can do something with a little amount of work and it accomplishes the goal, fantastic. We don't need to go any farther than that. I personally struggle with this because I love being heads down and just getting work done, but I think it's much more important to focus on the output. Agile also responds to a central challenge of business, which is how to provide quick, continuous value, particularly at scale for large enterprises. And you want to be agile, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means, because it makes you competitive. It makes you more responsive. So if you think about this, you're more responsive to your internal customers. Like if you work for HR, you're responsive to your internal employees, or you're more responsive to your external customers. You're more responsive to market changes, shifting tides, that kind of thing. Agile also bakes in quality into the process. So we are constantly delivering and checking and delivering and checking. So it makes a higher quality product typically, and it also increases speed, faster time to market. Oops, let's just go back and talk a little bit more about that. So basically, Agile companies, they create small, self-organizing and cross-functional teams that are designed to provide new value for customers constantly. They are obsessed with delivering value to customers. They're also typically constructed of a transparent network of individuals who collaborate towards a common goal of delighting customers. I think of this as networks in harmony with hierarchies. So yes, of course, there is an official top-down hierarchy, lines of reporting. That's the whole HR business hierarchical model. Very necessary. We're not trying to get rid of that at all when we do Agile. But there's a network throughout that hierarchy that is your value stream that gets things done. And that touches all layers of the hierarchy across silos. And so it's about bringing those people together that are part of a single value stream to deliver things faster. And one way to think about Agile, one of the hallmarks is constant iteration. So in the software world, in particular, this is compared to something like construction, which is a traditional or waterfall project management style. There we have long necessary lead times because we can't just summon 100 sheets of drywall out of nowhere. We have to organize that to be delivered. Things have to come one after another. So for that, we do need a waterfall type plan. But for a lot of other things where you can just sort of summon work items whenever you want, like in software, like in technology, and even in things like legal and finance and HR, you can snap your fingers and get a whole new development environment. We have infrastructure as a service now, thanks to AWS and Google Cloud Platform, and we have lots of SaaS products that we can summon up and change and configure as we need. So in an Agile mindset, the idea is that we build a little bit, deliver it to our customers, and find out very quickly if that's what they wanted. One of my favorite examples of a non-Agile mindset is Microsoft's Clippy. I don't know if you remember this from however many decades ago, but Microsoft introduced this little animated paperclip that was supposed to help you figure out Microsoft Word, and people hated it. I think they spent like $1 million developing that, and it seems like rather than delivering just tool tips or a non-animated paperclip that asked you questions, any of that, and then seeing if customers liked it, they spent a whole lot of money up front, delivered it, and then it bombed. So in an Agile mindset, you would do that piecemeal. Maybe just do the tool tips first. Maybe just do a static paperclip first. See if people like it, and then iterate. All right. So that's the Agile mindset that started back in 2000 with software development and has now moved into a lot of different organizations. And as more people get competitive with this, the more people need to change to get competitive with this. The tools. So we have people. If you don't hire good people, you're not going to have a good outcome. Then we have processes. If you don't have good processes for those people to follow, you're probably not going to have a good outcome. And then we have the tools that support those processes. In general, I find that if you don't have a good process, the tool doesn't matter because people just won't use it. But when you have good people and good processes, then you can implement tools like the ones on this screen to help people work smarter and faster and more collaboratively. So today we're gonna show a lot about processes in the tools on this screen. Specifically, we're working with Atlassian products today. And those products include Jira Work Management, Jira Software, and Jira Service Management. Those are all work tracking tools aimed at different kinds of teams. And they can apply across different kinds of teams as well. That's all within the Jira ecosystem of work management. It's basically a work tracker that is incredibly flexible, tailored to your needs. Then we also have Confluence, which is a documentation tool that integrates very well with Jira. We have Trello, which is, I like to think of it as Jira Ultralight. It's a very flexible card and list-based tool to help teams collaborate. And then some other tools that we're not going to talk about today, but that are part of this ecosystem include things like Bitbucket and Jira Align. Most importantly, these tools really combine collaboration, flexibility, and control. They provide knowledge sharing. They provide a way to track your work, and because people are already working in this tool, it really provides effortless reporting on that work to your stakeholders, like your boss, your clients, or the CEO, with honestly hardly any extra work to get that weekly status report out. And if you use these tools enough, you don't even need weekly status reports because people can just log in, look, see where the work is, see the comments, and it just works a lot better. It's important to note that what we're talking about today is not a replacement for some systems that you may already have. For example, an HRIS. If you already have an HR tracking system, this is not a replacement for that. Rather, these tools help fill in the gaps and help you track the processes that you're not already tracking somewhere else. All right, so let's look at some practical examples. We're gonna do 5 examples today. We're gonna look at task management, project management, hiring and onboarding. We're gonna look at service desks, and then we're gonna look at documentation and centralization of information. I think that most of these are things that all teams struggle with. So hopefully each of these examples will provide something helpful for you. All right, number 1, task management. This is for all teams. The problem is teams often don't know what do we have to do, or they don't know is everything up to date, or they don't know who has the ball and who's taking something to the next step. The solution is to get a centralized task management tool with multiple views that support your team and enough flexibility that you can change this tool as your team's processes develop. And to do that, the first tool we're going to look at is an example in Jira Work Management. So let me hop over here. Hope the live demo goes well. There's always a danger in that. All right, so this is Jira. And just so you know, Jira is split up into projects. It's one big piece of software split up into projects, and those projects are built around teams and processes. So in this case, I've got an accounting project. And this accounting project is for my accounting team in my mythical company. And each of the items that you see in this list view is a work item that needs to be done. So let's just start and look across this somewhat spreadsheet-esque view. By the way, it's not a spreadsheet, and I think that's really important to point out. This is tasks tracked in a central database that anyone can log into, anyone can update, given the right permissions, and anyone can see the progress on. So it's not just something that lives on my machine or lives on some kind of shared drive. It's live in the tool. SharePoint, that's the word I was looking for. So here I've got a task. This is just the key to the task that tells me which item it is. I've got a summary of that task. I've got the status, which I can change in line to any other status in the workflow that my team has developed. I know who's working on that task. I know when our approximate due date is. I've got the priority identified. I can tag it any way I want. I see when the task was created, the last time it was updated. I see who made and or requested the task. And in this view, this is fantastic. I can find all of my tasks here by just clicking on me, which is fantastic. I can also see other people working live in this view if they are updating other tasks. So let's just go back to everyone's tasks. I can also filter this. So show me work assigned to me, show me work due this week, show me items that are done. And I can also set up more filters if I want as well. Show me everything reported by Wade, for example. I can also group these by status assignee or priority. So now I see all of my tasks up here, and then I can see all of Vicky's work next. So already, silos broken down a little bit, visibility improved, and I don't have to tell my boss what I'm working on because my boss can see it already. That's just one view. Notice that we have this accounting for item, ACCT4. I can also see all of this work in another view, which is on something called a Kanban board. If you're not used to that, it takes all of your work and puts it by column according to status. So this is my workflow, basically. I've got to do, in progress, feedback, approval, done, not approved, done, approved. And that's just whatever workflow my team came up with. So this ACCT4 item that you saw before in that list view, it's showing up here on a column, and I can move it to any other status. Or I can click into this item and I can see all the information about it. I can see a more full description. I can attach work items to it. I can have a whole conversation around this, including commenting my boss, Wade, to find out or to ask him a question. Is this what you meant? For example. I can link this work to other work. I can also change the status here instead of dragging it through the columns. But most importantly, this is a single source of truth with multiple different views to see where the work is. And then I've got all this other information that I can slap on this particular work item too. I can give it a particular start date or an end date, or I can ask my administrator to add more fields to this screen if I need to track things in another way. And with my Kanban board view, I can see that I've got 6 items in progress, 6 items waiting for feedback. That's actually kind of a lot for my very small team. So I know that I need to either take in less work, or I need to talk to people about hiring more people for my team. And I've got it all visually right here. Another view is a calendar view. So I can see all the work according to its proposed start and end dates. And I can even find my little ACCT4 back over here on my calendar as well. If you don't like a calendar view, you may prefer a timeline, or what I like to call a roadmap view instead. We can even chunk multiple pieces of work into larger buckets, and we can give all of those things estimated start and end times, and we can see where on a timeline these things are going to get done. Now, I have a lot of little tasks, which is why it looks quite scattered, but you can imagine seeing the breakdown of, you know, big initiative 1 broken down into little tasks and when those tasks will be delivered. Lastly, in this particular accounting project, I also have a form that I can enable, which will help me do more, it'll help me streamline my team's intake process. So I can create a simple form. I can then share that form link with other people in my company. They can fill out this work for my team, and then that can become the source of intake. It can land in my team's backlog. We can get together periodically and reprioritize that backlog, find things that are high priority, move them to the top of the queue, etc. Hopefully you're getting excited about the idea of this. You know, no more silos, no wondering about what people are working on, no more wondering about has something started. So basically all those problems that we identified earlier, what do we have to do? Is everything up to date? And who's taking care of that? Are solved with this one product. As far as the work process goes, you can update the workflows as your team needs, which I think is really important. So initially, this team started possibly without without a feedback status. But then as the work got more complex, we realized, oh, actually, we need a feedback and or an approval status. So we added that in there as the team grew. This is the workflow for that team, by the way. Or at least for tasks for that team. We could have a different workflow for a different kind of work in this project as well. All right, so that is task management. Let's switch hats for a moment and talk about project management. So this is more for PMO teams, HR teams, marketing teams, basically anybody that manages large projects. So we're kind of moving one step up in the hierarchy. This is more of a management concept, you know, not just the individual contributor level. So what's the problem with project management for most teams? Generally misalignment, delayed handoffs, manual status reporting, missing information, and then things like 2020, which completely blow up everything, or even GDPR if you're in the software world, which also blew up everything a couple of years ago. So the solution to helping make project management much more bearable or manageable, pun intended, is to make work visible and to automate reporting. To do this, we're going to use a similar Jira product that's called Jira Software. To be perfectly honest, you can do it in the product that I showed you before, but it's nice to see an array of products, and also a product called Confluence, which is the documentation tool that I mentioned earlier. We're going to use those together to show off better project management. Yeah, so let's just dive right in. So now I'm in a different project. This is my marketing project management project. So this is a project for my marketing team. And like in my accounting project, I've got a lot of different items of work to be done. Here is a list of all of those items of work. And I'm working specifically on Project Alpha. So I'm going to dive into Project Alpha. Oops, I thought I was. Here we go. And on this screen, I see all the information about Project Alpha that is being tracked. Those buckets that I talked about earlier that sort of collect a bunch of work, this is one of those buckets. In Jira, it's called an epic. Eventually, you'll be able to rename that to anything else, like project if you want to, or feature. So here in this middle tab, I've got the background of my project, I've got the business objectives, I've got the scope, I've got project assumptions, and then I have all the child work that needs to be done to complete that project listed here. I've got some milestones, I've got tasks that are being worked on. I also see the linked documentation in Confluence, where there's a documentation page around Project Alpha, and also Project Alpha appears on my project dashboard. Just like before, I can share comments about this project. I can also see an entire history of everything that changed in this as well. So there's a full audit log of everything that I'm doing too. My workflow is a little bit different this time. Now, everything starts off in the project funnel. It then works into to do, in progress, we have an on hold status, and then the project's done or canceled. And then over here, I've got all of the other information around my project. So I've got the person responsible for delivering. I've got a field that denotes project size. And then I'm starting to list all of the people related to the project. I've got my executive sponsor, Vicky, my boss's boss. I've got the stakeholders for this project, a target start and target end date, a due date, priority, and then any other fields that I want to add down here. And I'm not just working on multiple projects, which is the whole point of project management, is to manage multiple projects at once. And so I'm not working just on one project, I'm working on many projects. So if I come up to my Kanban board, I can see all of my projects in progress. I've got 2 projects in the funnel that we are considering. We're still writing up the business case for it. We're still writing out the primary objectives, that kind of thing. Basically evaluating it to see if it's worth doing, maybe looking at the budget. Then once it's out of the funnel, we move it into to do, which is for us a status of, yes, this is approved, it's ready to go. We just need to start it when it's ready to start. Once the project starts, we move it into in progress. If the project stops for any reason, we put it on hold, and then we can move it to done eventually as well. So this is one view to look at many projects, but this is not the most helpful view. So I'm going to change tools for a moment and go over to Confluence, which connects to Jira and can pull all of this information about my project Alpha into a page over in Confluence. So here I am in a different tool looking at information about the same project. This is my marketing Confluence space, kind of like a project over in Jira that is for my marketing team. And I'm looking at my project dashboard, and there's a sub-page called Project Alpha. And this is the static reporting, the dynamic reporting page for my project. Here I've got a project calendar that shows what's happening. It's got major holidays, company events, important milestones, and different team members' vacation all being pulled in from external calendars, so that whenever we log into the status page, we can see where we are and what's coming up so nobody's surprised. Over here, I've got all of that information from Jira, my target start, my target end, my status, my project size, my sponsor, and my due date, along with some subjective status reporting, which is very important for project management. What's the overall status? What's the resource status? What's the budget status? What's the schedule status? I can manually update those here on this page. Then down here, I'm pulling in data from Jira and reporting on it. This is all the work that is in progress and or to do right now for that project. Here's a pie chart of how much work is done, to do, and in progress. Here's all of the recently completed work that we did. I've got the milestones listed for this project. I'm also pulling in the rest of the details from Jira about business objectives, background, scope, assumptions, that kind of stuff. And then I can attach things like design specs and reference materials. So now I have a standing status report for this project. But like I said before, I'm managing multiple projects. So let's zoom up to the project dashboard, which is another page that I made that just collects all of my projects and puts them on one dashboard. So here I've got a gadget in Confluence, or macro, I guess they're called, that is showing me project alpha, project beta, delta, epsilon, etc. It's showing me all of those manual status updates that, or I guess subjective manual status updates that I talked about before. And then it has all of that key project information that I'm pulling in from Jira. But now I see it all on a dashboard that tells me what's going on and how I feel about it. Then down here, I've got a roadmap. I'm a big fan of this roadmap. I can see Project Alpha. I can see when it starts and stops. I can also collapse the information so I can see when it starts and stops, and then all the other projects. And I can see all of that important information from Jira, target start, target end, the status, the overall progress based on its children. And I can expand it down to see its children here as well. And there's a legend here that'll tell me how to read this chart. So that's my project dashboard helping me look at everything. So my recommendation for you is get into a tool. It doesn't have to be Jira, but get into a tool that allows you to synchronize all this together and build standing reports like this Project Alpha page or like this project dashboard of multiple projects so that you're not constantly having to gather around for Friday status meetings. All right. What's next? All right, so we still have hiring and onboarding and service desks and centralized knowledge management to go. First, for just a moment, just because we're 30 minutes into the webinar, I just want to talk very, very briefly about us, and then we'll get right back to the rest of the examples. Like I mentioned at the top, we are a platinum solution partner, Expium. And we really specialize in these three areas of business around Atlassian products, specifically training. So if you need any help on these products, we offer lots of public free webinars like this one, and I'll show some more free webinars at the end of this. We also do paid public training classes. We also do private training for administrators and end users of all these products. We do consulting, so implementations, migrations, customizations, all those Asian activities around these products. We also do business process consulting, so if you've got a process that you would like to improve, we also specialize in that. And not just in these tools, by the way. We also have a sister company called Oasis Digital that does full stack custom development. Not a sister company, it's just a different branch of this company, I guess. And so if we can't build it in the tool, or if we can't find a marketplace add-on that is publicly supported, we can build it for you custom. If you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to contact me after the webinar. I'll have contact information later on. All right, so let's talk about the next example in these tools around hiring and onboarding. So this is mostly for HR teams, but honestly, many teams onboard. And usually there's an onboarding / enablement process that you want people to follow. So the problem here is that teams need unique processes that scale, and they need a tool that they can change over time as their processes change over time. We're also frequently dealing with unclear next steps. Hey, who's onboarding John right now? And has he completed these milestones? The solution is a tool that provides for custom workflows, that provides for data validation, that provides, if necessary, for automated downstream task creation. So like at a certain point in onboarding, go notify IT that we're going to need a laptop ordered. And that also has guardrails to make sure that depending on the industry, we stay within compliance around our onboarding. The tools we're going to use are Jira Software or Jira Service Management. In particular, the example I'm going to show works for both. And the example I'm going to show you is it's a medical. Why am I losing my words? I want to say insurance agent company, and they have to onboard. Yeah, that sounds right. It's been a while. They have to onboard thousands of people to be tier 1 and tier 2 support agents. The tier 2 agents all have to pass certain state exams, 2 of them, before they can be on the phone. If they don't pass those exams, or if they're on the phones before having their licenses, there's huge fines for the company that we built this example for. I mean, we built the real thing. I turned it into an example for this webinar. So let's look at onboarding a tier 1 agent. Now I'm in an onboarding project for this company. This is all scrubbed data, by the way. And so I can see that we've recruited this many people, we've scheduled this many people, one of them's in training, two are currently being peer mentored, and two are currently good to go. This is a way scaled down version. They ran thousands of people through this workflow every year. If I come into Florence, we can see that this card represents a person, and I can add fields like phone number, address, whatever I need to successfully onboard this person. And then I can also have a conversation around onboarding that person here in the comments. And again, every change has a history. The particular workflow for this for these tier 1 agents looks like this. So people start out recruited, and by the way, this workflow is very different than the ones I've shown before. This is a very linear, structured, guardrailed workflow. People start out recruited, then they are scheduled for training, then they are in training. Once they complete training, they go to peer mentoring. After peer mentoring, somebody signs off and they are good to go on the phones. Early in the process, they may withdraw anytime after being recruited or scheduled, or they may be a no-show, in which case these are all terminal statuses. Also, at any point in the process, we may need to request termination. So there is a button out here that certain people have access to where they can request termination. And this button, if I click it, it runs an automation in the background that creates a linked ticket in an HR project that goes through its own termination workflow where HR approves, the manager approves, and then the person is officially terminated. When that workflow completes, it comes back to this workflow and picks the person up out of training and drops them into terminated. So we can't move them directly, even though it looks like we can here. This can only be accessed by that other workflow. So that's the tier 1 agent workflow. The much more interesting one, though, I will say, is the tier 2 agent workflow. So if I come here to Ricky and look at his workflow, tier 2 agents are the ones that had to be licensed. So here, just as before, they're recruited, they are scheduled, then they go through testing. At some point, they may fail a test to get their license, in which case they retest and retest and retest until they pass. After they've passed, we then move to an officially certified status, but maybe they show up to us already having their state licensures, in which case we can jump over to certified. But this, if we take that path in the workflow, a screen pops up saying, please enter all licensing credentials, so that it's officially checked. After they're certified, they go through advanced training and peer mentoring, but maybe they worked for us before and they don't need to go through that, in which case we have a jump to peer mentoring section. What's really cool about this workflow in particular that I like is that once somebody moves into certified, no matter what path they take, a bunch of tasks are created in the related facilities and IT projects. Facilities sets them up with a desk. This was before 2020. And IT sets them up with a phone line and a laptop. Also, if we happen to terminate and they get moved into this terminated status, some automations run in the background that go and cancel any outstanding downstream ticket, so that if we fire somebody from this workflow, IT isn't still setting up a laptop for them. In their workflow, their task is immediately picked up and dropped into a canceled status. All right, so that is a very complex but very flexible way to manage the onboarding of employees. You can imagine that your onboarding might be much simpler. I can tell you that ours is for sure. We have a hiring project. It has a few statuses that involves background checks and certain legal things that have to happen. And in it, downstream tasks are automatically created to get people access to certain systems and to kick off enablement if necessary. And we keep changing that workflow periodically as our processes change. All right, so that is hiring and onboarding. Let's look at the last two now. Service desks. Two examples to go. So service desks, I think most people think of an IT service desk when they think of a service desk, but you can make a service desk for any team. specifically using a product called Jira Service Management, which we haven't looked at yet. Basically, a service desk provides a portal and sort of a one-stop intake process for your team, kind of like the form that we saw earlier. Any team can set one up in these tools. And the problem we're solving for with a service desk is that often we have no clear prioritization of work. We have multi-channel intake of email and bosses knocking on our door and phone calls and other requests. And we often have no visibility into the process for the requester. I think, and Atlassian also thinks, that pretty much every internal team in a company is a services team. Legal provides services for other teams in the company, for the business. Marketing provides marketing services. HR provides HR services. And so for those teams to have a uniformed intake and clear prioritization and clear visibility to the person requesting the work, just makes everyone's life a whole lot easier. Transparency is usually, not always, but usually a really good thing. People can, at the very least, complain a lot less when they see something moving through the workflow that they requested. So the solution is a service desk with clear intake forms, prioritized queues, automatic updates to the requester, and if you'd like, self-help knowledge articles. And the tool we're going to use is a combination of Jira Service Management for the service desk and Confluence for the knowledge base. So if I come back to my tools here, this is an example of the portal that a service desk provides in Jira. You would provide this link to all employees of your company, and they would log in and they would see each of the different teams' individual service desks. So I've got my IT team that has their IT service desk. I've got my HR service desk, and I've got my facilities service desk. So for example, if I click into the facilities service desk, I can see I can send them a question, I can report a maintenance issue, I can request a desk move, or I can request setup for an event. Or I can even start from the main help center and I can just search. I can type down maintenance issue, and this will show me how to report a maintenance issue. So it's just serving up an article right here, or and actually multiple articles here. And then it also points out certain request forms that I might want to jump from right away. So here in this case, I can report a maintenance issue, or I can view that article. So let's view the article. Hey, look at that, some information that's very helpful to me. And I can even say if it's helpful or not. And if I still need to raise a request, I can come down and I can go ahead and report that maintenance issue anyway. I'm going to report that issue. Toilet on 3rd floor is broken. And these are all fields that the maintenance team set up. I think it's a minor repair. I could be wrong. 3rd floor restroom, east wing, or whatever. And then I can also add, more details. Water problems, whatever I need to write. I can also attach a screenshot if I want to, and I can submit this. This is the customer-centric view, and you can imagine this could be an HR request, a legal request, a marketing request. I can see the details that I submitted. I can see the status of my issue. I can get notifications as this issue is updated or not. And I can share this with other people on my team. Maybe there's some other people that use the 3rd floor east wing restroom, and they would also like to know when the toilet is going to be fixed. So I could share this with other team members. I can also ask a question. Hi, any updates? Taking off my customer hat for a moment and putting on my team member hat, I'm going to go into the back end and pick up this ticket and work on it. So this is the agent view, and I can see all the information that I need to solve this problem. I've got the initial information here. I can see down here that they asked a question. I can reply to the customer. Hi, Brian, we're on it. And send that to the customer, which will then send them an email and also show that comment in the portal. And then I've got all of the other information over here as, for example, time to first response, time to resolution, and then other details about the request. and my workflow and everything else. So typically what we see teams do is they will set up a service desk project in Jira that handles intake. And then they might have another project that handles the rest of their work. And we can easily link the work back and forth. This is very common within IT, but also very easy to set up for HR and legal and marketing and whatever your team may happen to be too. I hope you see the advantage of having a service desk, particularly the clear visibility. Because again, if I start working on this issue here, if I start and go to in progress, and I come back to view the request from the customer side of things, I can see that this is in progress. And this customer also just got an email saying that Brian changed the status to in progress. So I can see that we're working on it. One nice thing too is I could take this issue key, I could write that on a Post-it, slap it on the toilet in the restroom, and then people will know, oh, there's already a maintenance request out for this problem. And if the requester chose to share it with everyone, which you could do if you'd like, everyone can log in and see when that request is going to be updated. And they could choose to get notifications on that request as well. Cool. All right. Last example coming down the home stretch, after which we'll have Q&A and we'll talk about other free stuff that you can come to if you'd like. We have lots of free webinars. The last example I'd like to talk about is the challenge of knowledge management. I think that teams in general, sometimes it's really hard to pass on knowledge, and sometimes we have information scattered throughout many, many sources. The problems that I'm describing for all teams include, where do I find the right information, and is that information up to date? The solution is a central organized portal for knowledge for your team or even for your company. And the tool we're going to use for that is Confluence. We were in Confluence once before in this marketing space, looking at our project dashboard. But now we're going to look instead at a team homepage. So this is a space for the marketing team, but we can make it visible to everybody, or a subset of it visible to everybody. And we can introduce our team here with information, contact information for our team. This latest update shows every update in order to every page in this space. We can put team information on here if we want to. We can put a team calendar. But what I like and what I find the most important about Confluence is not necessarily putting original information in Confluence, but to bring information together in one place. So here I've got a link to folders in Google Drive or SharePoint or OneDrive or whatever it is your team uses that has our marketing brochures, our marketing logos, and our marketing swag. And I can open that up and I can land in our swag folder here within Google Drive to get all of our swag information. There's not actually information in there. This is a fake team. I can also link to documents such as account passwords, current ad pricing, and trademark guidelines. Most importantly, even though the link's here, I'm still using Google and Google Drive to permission people into these documents and spaces. So even though the link is here, I may not have access to that page, which is nice. You want to use your onboarding process and your general management of people to handle document access, not your documentation tool. Lastly, I can link to external things such as benefits, workplace experience, coaching, mentoring, just general HR stuff. And I can also search all the pages in this space. So that's the team dashboard with a collection of knowledge in one place for my team. Scrolling down, I've got a section for meeting notes where I can compile tasks, and I can see all of my past meeting notes and all the things we did, who joined that meeting, what the goals were, what our topics were, what the action items and decisions were that came out of that meeting. And then those are all summaried up here with tasks outstanding and decisions that were made. So I don't have to sort through all of my meeting notes. What I like too is that, what am I looking for here? Oh, there we go. Oops, nope, not that one. Sorry, I need to get back to my marketing space. That's where I wanted to be. Something else that we can see too is we can bring in external tools into this tool. So for example, I really like to use Miro. I think Miro is a fantastic tool. And this is a live Miro whiteboard living inside of Confluence, fully engageable. I can move things around. If I'm logged in, I can actually update this board and move it live. There's lots of examples of how to bring in external tools into this tool, and I'll show you two more. Trello as well. So my marketing team is planning a trade show in Vegas this year. Here's a live Trello board with all of our current activities. And these are all live cards, so we can update them right from here without having to go external into Trello. Lastly, we can hook up things like documents out of Google. So this is a live spreadsheet that I can come in and edit straight here from the page, and a live document that I can also edit straight from the page. Oh, and of course, all of this stuff shows when it was updated. So no more wondering about, is this documentation out of date? And we can even set up automation within our space to periodically flag documents that have not been updated in a year, and possibly auto archive particularly old documents so that people aren't slogging through a lot of unnecessary information. Okay, I'm going to do a soft close right now before Q&A because I know some people don't have questions and probably need to go move on with their day. But we will do Q&A in just a minute. I want to say thank you very much for coming to this. I hope that you found this information useful. I hope you got some ideas that you can take back to your teams. Hope you got inspired. 50 minutes is a lot of time out of someone's day. If you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to email me at brian.dar@expium.com, or you can also find me on LinkedIn and message me there. In addition to this webinar, which was today, August 4th, we have a lot of other free and some paid classes coming up if you're interested. If you use Atlassian's Advanced Roadmaps, we have a free webinar. I'm sorry, we have a paid class next Monday for that. We have a free governance webinar. We have a free Jira service, I'm sorry, we have a paid Jira Service Management 2-day bootcamp, a free cloud migration webinar, a free service management fundamentals and ITSM webinar, a paid Jira bootcamp, which is a 3-day intensive course all about administering Jira. We have Confluence Bootcamp, which is a paid 1-day course all about using and administering Confluence. We have How to Do Portfolio Management in Jira, which is a free webinar. And then we kind of restart the cycle down here. There's also an Introduction to Jira Align webinar and Introduction to Confluence webinar. Both of those are free coming up as well. So again, thank you very much for your kind attention. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was worthy of your time. Hope to see you again at a future webinar. With that, let's open the floor to any questions. Let's see, where's the Q&A? Just dropping this here before I forget. How can we activate due date reminders so a project is alerted when a task is approaching its due date? Great question. Due date reminders are actually pretty easy. We can, well, first of all, everything just kind of pops up within Jira. Everything turns red as the due date approaches. If you need automated reminders, we can set up automation for Jira to run a check every day, let's say at midnight, or 9 a.m. or whatever. And if the due date is within a certain time frame, we can make a comment on that issue, an automated comment, and that comment will alert the assignee of that issue that, hey, the due date's getting really close. Next question. Will the recording be available to view later? Yes, it will. We're going to send that out in an email just as soon as we have it processed for you. Any other questions? I'll wait about 30 seconds in case someone's typing. How do you connect Jira calendar to a Confluence calendar? So Jira issues can be brought into team calendars for Confluence. Team calendars for Confluence is available on Confluence Premium and Confluence Enterprise in the cloud, or on Confluence Data Center if you're doing an on-prem deployment. And you can bring in a filter of Jira issues, and that will populate that calendar with whatever parameter of Jira issues you want to do. Specific training for that, I think we talk about that in our Confluence webinar. I know we talk about it in our Confluence bootcamp, where we do live instructor-led, workshop-based, like live in tool training, where we have like a test environment where you can play around with. The next one of those, it's actually happening today, but the next one of those that we're doing is September 15th. The next free Confluence webinar is on September 29th. We cover creating Jira structure in the upcoming webinar. Do you mean like setting up Jira and how to organize it in projects? If that's the case, that's something that we cover really in depth in our Jira bootcamp. That one's really specifically, it's a 3-day, very intensive course for administrators about how to set up Jira projects, how to build workflows, screens, issue type screen schemes, permission schemes, notification schemes, all of that stuff. We cover really in depth in a hands-on workshop-based class there called Jira Bootcamp, which is on our website. We don't really go into that too much in our webinars. Honestly, it's just too much to cover in an hour. And in order to really get it, I think getting your hands on is quite important for that. Let's see, answered that one, answered that one, answered that one. Wait another 30 seconds in case anybody has anything else. Oh yeah, and thank you, Kylie, for dropping in the links. Confluence Bootcamp, Confluence Webinar, and Jira Bootcamp links are all in the chat if you need them. All right, well, it looks like no more questions. Thank you all very much for coming. Hope you had a good time, and hope you have a great day. Thanks again.